The Knicks postgame show is presented by Tri-State Audi. Visit your Tri-State area Audi dealer today. Tonight in Cleveland, OG Anunoby, his 8th straight game with at least 20, but he had only 4 points in the second half after 19 in the first half. The Cavs and Donovan Mitchell wearing down the Knicks in the second half. Mitchell finished the game with 27 points. He only had 11 at the half, so 16 of his points come in the second half. And the Cavs roll tonight over the Knicks. Final score, 124-105. Back in New York, it's great to have you with us from our Delta MSG studios. Bill Pidto along with Alan Hahn. So the Knicks were up by 7 at the half. Problem is they lost the second half, Alan, by 26.
Yes, second half is the story of this game. Second half of a back-to-back. Nobody wants to hear excuses, but some things are real. And that was noticeable in the second half of this game. The Knicks put all the fight they could into that first half, ran out of gas in the second half. And there's only one number that you have to point to show that the legs started to lose in the second half of this game. The Knicks were 1 for 15 from 3 in the second half. You're not going to win, especially against a high-powered offense like that, if you are missing 14 out of 15 three-point attempts in the second half. You're getting the shots, you're just not knocking them down. You credit the defense. The Cavs ramped it up. You all know the schedule. The Knicks were in the second game of back-to-back, and they were on the road. The Cavs were off for 2 days, and they were home. So they should have been the team with more energy in the second half. They certainly were. But there's a lot of things in this game that you're looking at that you say, what are the things that the Knicks wanted to bring into this game, knowing all the pieces that they were missing? They wanted to show fight. They wanted to come in and compete. That's what Josh Hart talked about last night to me, about the ambition for this game. They did that for the most part, but they just didn't have enough. Sometimes the talent deficiency does catch up to you, especially when you are playing the second game of back-to-back. I think they'll be happy with how they fought, but clearly, again, blown out by another team that's above you in the standings in the East. That's all anybody's going to talk about, and the Knicks can't run from it. Until they finally beat one of these teams, this will continue to be the narrative.
Knicks had a 15-point lead in the first half. They had won 71 straight games. 71 straight games, the longest active streak in the NBA.
Crazy. When
leading by at least 15, but that streak is now over. And the reason why the streak is over is because the Cavs started poured on late in the third, and it continued.
There's a great
in the fourth
example.
quarter.
Great example right there. You see DeAndre Hunter just get his body into Shamit's body and push him back 5 feet and get it into the back. Look at everything right here is all with physicality, right? And cutting and movement. When you get tired, what happens is you ball watch. Then you make lazy passes, and what the Cavs were doing in the second half was ball pressure, pressing up. They were forcing the Knicks, who don't have a lot of ball handlers out on the floor, to prove that they've got a handle to handle the pressure. They couldn't. And then they were doing a lot of cutting and moving on offense. This three to start the fourth quarter really was the one that took the wind out of the sails of the Knicks. That was a huge three by Mobley there. And then this easy in the paint, just practice, turnaround jumper, jog back with your thumbs up, Donovan Mitchell, just too easy. A fast break pull-up three, Bill Pidto. That's today's NBA, and Donovan Mitchell's letting the crowd know. We kind of need some noise here because the Knicks, for most of this game, had the crowd out of it, which is saying a lot in that building.
Cavs, Allen, in the third quarter, 15 out of 15. Perfect shooting from two.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And it also shows you not a lot of defensive pressure happening in the paint from the Knicks.
Cavs won the rebounding battle, and the points in the paint went the Cavs' way. Wally Szczerbiak now joins us, was on the game call with Tyler Murray. Wally, what happened in that second half?
Oh, I'll tell you, the Cavs kicked it into gear. Knicks can't control the pick and roll. As a result, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, they were breaking down the defense whenever they wanted. I heard you just mention it. 15 for 15 in the third quarter from inside the arc. Are you kidding me? And the Knicks just didn't show any resistance. I know they were tired on a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights, but they got to figure out a way to be a little bit more aggressive and not let the Cavs completely take over that game.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that second half when we talk about the fatigue factor. The number that jumped out to me the most was 1 for 15 from three-point range by the Knicks. The fact that you missed that many threes, but you got 15 up, that's still not a high number, but still, that's an example of really, if you can't stop the Cavs, you got to try to keep up with that offense. 1 for 15 is not going to get it done.
Yeah, and the thing is, against a great offensive team, you have to score on them. When you get open looks, if you miss that open shot, like I remember there was one shot in the fourth quarter where the Knicks were down 10. Shamit got a wide open look. He missed it. It was a long rebound, went right to the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell, 3 on the other end of the floor, 6-point swing. You have to make shots against elite teams in the NBA, And when you miss them, they're going to make you pay, because you know the Cavs aren't missing on the other end, because they can really shoot the ball at a high percentage. So the Knicks have to get back to the drawing board and figure out how to control dribble penetration and that pick and roll one way or another if they're going to see this Cavs team in the playoffs.
And Wally, also what we saw in the first half was OG Anunoby started on Donovan Mitchell, and OG had a fantastic offensive first half. He was phenomenal. And he got that third foul just under 3 minutes to go in the half. He comes out of the game, and suddenly a 13-point lead, and the Knicks were playing well. By halftime, it was a 7-point lead, and really the momentum started to turn there. Was foul trouble one of the bigger stories in this game, where OG now couldn't guard Donovan Mitchell for most of that second half?
Absolutely. Obviously OG's a big body. When Donovan sees him, he respects him as a defender. I'll tell you who he doesn't respect as a defender, Mikal Bridges. When he saw Mikal Bridges get switched over onto him, he went right at him. And he doesn't respect Mikal Bridges either on the offensive end of the floor. He was pushing him around. He was getting him off his spots on the defensively. And Donovan Mitchell's a strong guy, but he's not a big guy, not known for his defense. He did an outstanding job on Mikal Bridges, and I don't think Mikal Bridges made him work enough on the defensive end of the floor. There were a couple times where Bridges got bigs switched onto him. Yep. When you get a big switched onto you, make him pay. Go at him. Create a shot. You're an outstanding mid-range shooter. Knock down a three over them. They don't like to be out there at the three-point line, or get some dribble penetration and make something happen for your team. I was surprised Mikal Bridges didn't attack a little bit more when he had the opportunity, especially in some switches.
That's a great point. 6 field goal attempts for
Bridges only took 6 shots, Wally, 3 for 6.
Yeah, it was just he's the guy in a game like today. Anunoby carries the offense in the first half. Towns gives you 25 and 13. Obviously, you're going to struggle to control pick and roll. But as long as you get a third guy to be aggressive, and Mikal Bridges has the capabilities. I mean, he's an all-star caliber player. In a game like this, this is what he was brought here to do, to play in playoff-type atmospheres, playoff mode, big games. He's a big game player in college his whole entire career. He's been to the NBA Finals. This type of game is when his competitive juices should really get flowing. And he's got to figure out a way to, against the best teams in the NBA, and especially in the East, the Celtics and the Cavs, he's got to be more aggressive, and he's got to bring more to the table for this squad.
All right, Wally, we appreciate it. Have a safe trip back. We'll see you soon.
You got it.
All right, so Bridges only with 6 shot attempts, but OG Anunoby, as I mentioned, 8 straight games now with at least 20 points.
Yeah, and he
only
did
4 in the second half.
Yeah, but he did a little bit of everything. And just like Wally said, he's the one that got it started. Now, again, you can't expect he's going to give you 20 in the first half, 20 in the second half. Others also have to step up and get it done. But Anunoby, to start this game, picked up where he left off last night with a red-hot shoot. This time he was more, instead of attacking the paint, he was scoring from downtown. He made his first 5 threes, 5 of 6 to start the game in that first half from downtown. You see the one-legged two. He's got a little everything, including a little crab dribble move here. Look at this move here. Love that with the 2-step and the finish at the rim. Just you can see he was effervescing with confidence when it comes to his offense and where he's been. Yes, he was. He was percolating, as Clyde might say. 8 straight games out, scoring over 20 points. That is for him a career high. It continues to be. It started when he hit the 7-game mark. But he also chipped in 6 assists. He also gave you 6 rebounds. And as I mentioned to Wally, one thing you can't overlook, and I wonder if Tom Thibodeau will talk about this, they started this game with Anunoby guarding Donovan Mitchell. It shows you his range, because Anunoby is really a big wing player, and he's guarding a guard on the perimeter. And he was doing a really good job at the start of the game. But what happened was he picked up 3 quick fouls. And that third one, late in the first half, was kind of cheap, but he got called for it. Had to take him out of the game. The Knicks were up 13 at that point. He leaves the game, there's under 3 minutes to go. In a blink, it's an 8-0 run. The Knicks get 2 points to close the half. It goes to a 7-point lead instead of 13. But that's where it started to turn. And then in the second half, with Anunoby having the foul issues that he had, he got his 4th foul early in the third quarter. Like 50 seconds into the half, another foul. Now you got to take him off Mitchell. You can't afford to lose him. And as Wally mentioned, Mikal Bridges is guarding Mitchell. Doesn't have the physicality that you need to guard a guy like him. And then Donovan Mitchell just got cooking, and so did their offense in that third quarter. So that was a real turning point in this game. Fatigue then set in. Maybe a little bit of also frustration set in with this Knicks team. They couldn't knock down a 3. But that late in the second quarter, that moment right there is really where things started to turn because Anunoby was dominating this game at both ends of the floor.
All right, so the Knicks lose. The Pacers won. Highlights coming up on the 150. That means the Knicks' magic number third is still at 3. Tom Thibodeau's Knicks lose tonight. Outscored in the second half, 71-45, and lose 124-105. We'll hear from the Knicks coach coming up.
The Knicks postgame show is presented by Audi. Visit your Tri-State Audi dealer today.
Knicks a couple of days off before another back-to-back. Atlanta on the road Saturday. They'll host Phoenix Sunday. We're on the air Saturday. Pregame at 2:30 and the game at 3 with the Knicks in Atlanta take on the Hawks.
Why are they playing a game at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, spending 2 days in Atlanta? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You got the Final Four at night, right?
It's insane. But just the schedule, the way they've had to finish this season is just absurd. How they've had to play all these back-to-backs in the last 2 weeks of the season.
So you got
that's why getting the top 6 was so important. You get that week off. Let the play-in happen. You get a week off, and then your first game will be that Saturday after the regular season ends.
So you got the back-to-back this weekend, and then next week a back-to-back Detroit and Cleveland. Detroit, home against Cleveland.
It's 3 in the last 8 games, Bill. Again, the schedule that they've had to deal with is a real thing, and it's not an excuse. It's a real thing. There are teams dealing with this. Ask the Lakers what they've had to go through. But it is a real thing. A West Coast trip where you come back after playing in California, you play in LA, you play in Portland, you come back, play one home game, and then you got to go back to San Antonio.
And then go to Charlotte for a back-to-back.
Just made no sense. No sense.
All right. Knicks go down 124-105. Tom Thibodeau's post-game comments, as always, presented by Chase.
I thought the first half, we played really smart, hard, and did a lot of good things. Third quarter, I think it was 83-83 with about 2 minutes to go. And then we didn't close out that quarter well. I think we ended up being down 6 or 8. So that last 2 minutes, it gave them momentum going into the fourth. And then, that's where we fell short. And to win here, we know we got to play 48 good minutes of basketball.
Obviously, it was going to be an uphill climb. You guys played last night and are missing people. But did it feel like as the game went on, there was some mistakes from guys defensively? It seems like guys kind of lost their guys, and then looked like guys were trying to force shots there in the third.
Well, I thought, in the first half, it was we were tied together offensively and defensively. And then some of it is, when you're driving the ball, they got the second 7-footer coming. And I thought the decisions, the rim reads were good in the first half. And when we got the spray outs and then the extra pass, the drive pass, there was good rhythm. And then that also allowed us to have good floor balance going back. And so, and sometimes, a foot or two can make a big difference spacing-wise. And the same thing defensively, if you're a step off of, where your help position in the gap where you should be, that's maybe the difference between them getting into the paint, and that was a problem.
The fouls and the turnovers for Cat tonight, how much of an issue did that become?
Yeah, and the thing is they were very aggressive. They forced turnovers, we forced turnovers. But the thing about it is, like when the second defender comes, just trust the pass, spray it out. And sometimes when you're missing, open threes, there's a tendency, particularly if you, like I said, I think it was 83-83 with 2 minutes to go in the third. And then they went on that run, and then you want to try to get the game back into it, and then if you rely too much on one-on-one, that's where usually the problems come.
How much did it change your momentum the last 3 minutes of the second quarter when OG and Cat both picked up those 3 fouls?
Yeah, and that's the way sometimes it goes, and just stay disciplined. There's a lot of physicality out there. We want the physicality, we want the contact, but we want it with intelligence. We don't want to pick up the cheap fouls. So I think that's an important part of that.
Against these top teams, we know what the record is against the Celtics, the Cavs, and the Thunder. Is there a mental Hill that needs to be over?
Well, no, because I think, well, there's, obviously the good teams are they're going to have records like that against people, and like I said, sometimes you got to look at you have to play really well to beat them, and we understand that, but you also have to look at all the factors that go into it. Is it a back-to-back? Are they? Do they have 2 days of rest? What's their situation? So you look at it. We're capable of beating anyone. We're capable of losing to anybody too. So just come back, take what you can, learn from the game, and then get ready for the next one. So then you never change your approach. But we've beaten teams that are plus 500 teams too. So we just got to keep putting our best foot forward each day, keep getting better.
Not the loudest minutes or loudest stats for DeLon, but he just seems like to be a steady hand on both sides of the ball. Obviously, you're missing 2 backups. Do you anticipate when those guys get healthy trying to work DeLon in still, or is that just going to be a process you'll figure out?
Well, I think you got to settle on a rotation, and then once you settle on the rotation, the other guys are situational, and he's shown everyone he's more than capable. So we like the job that he's done.
Welcome back, everyone. The Cavs won the third quarter by 13, the fourth quarter by 13. They win 124-105. Their coach, Kenny Atkinson, on what turned the game around.
Our defensive disposition. They were, you saw it, they were just kind of getting what they wanted. Our closeouts were not up to par. Our physicality off the ball was not up to par, and I thought that starting group, in the beginning of the third, OG had 19 points. We made it a point at halftime. We didn't throw any water bottles, but we made it a point. And our guys, we knew they were on a back-to-back, so, can we pick up our energy? Can we pick up our physicality, take OG out of the game? And guys executed.
I guess the coach recently threw a water bottle to try to motivate his group. The Cavs recently had the worst stretch of the year, losing 4 in a row, but obviously they're back on the winning track. Back now from the corner 3 presented by Michelob Ultra Superior Light Beer.
Did you hear what he said at the end there, though?
About
As if he was listening to the first block of the postgame show. This is literally what happened. You turn it on in the second half because you're facing a team on the road in the second game of a back-to-back, so turn it up. And then also take OG Anunoby out of the game by upping your physicality and getting him into foul trouble. Kenny Atkinson just told you what the game plan was at halftime, and it was executed flawlessly. And you heard Tom Thibodeau earlier also explain, well, what happened in this game. End of the second quarter, bad closeout second quarter. Why? Anunoby comes out of the game with his third foul. But also, with all the issues the Knicks had early in the third quarter, they still were tied at 83 late in the third quarter. And so they were right there in the game.
Only down by 6 after 3.
But that's the problem, was down by 6, because it was 83 all with 2:15 to go, and then they gave up 8 straight points. And Tom Thibodeau pointed to that right there as we got to go into the fourth quarter at least tied. You can't go down 6. And then, as we showed you in the highlights, Mobley hits that 3 out of the gate. Shoulders drop, emotion starts to drop. Those things are happening, and that is a human element that can happen when you are in the second game of a back-to-back on the road. It's a real thing, everybody. It's not an excuse. It's real, especially when you're also missing your star player in Jalen Brunson. So these are all the things that happen in an NBA game, and you hear us talk about it, the coaches also just talked about it.
So they're shorthanded and losing to the Cavs. It's different if they had a full roster, correct? I mean, in terms of the...
Well, you hope so, but here's the problem.
implications.
You hope so, but here's the problem. They're now 0-6 against Boston.
I know, but they had a skeleton squad tonight.
But nobody looks at that. The rest of the world sees they've lost by a combined 125 points to these two teams.
But they're missing Brunson
by an average of 20 points a game. Bill, we see that because we see them every day. But everybody in the league right now keeps saying the Knicks can't beat these teams.
All right, well, they were really shorthanded tonight. Even though OG Anunoby went for 20 again, he had 23, Donovan Mitchell 27. We will take a look ahead after this. Carmelo Anthony reportedly going to be inducted into the next class of the Basketball Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Melo, Allen. Well deserved.
It was a no-brainer, right? You think about not only his NBA career, 10th in all-time NBA scoring, but how about 1 year at Syracuse as a freshman led them to a national championship. And let's not forget about the legend of Olympics, Melo. What a great international player he was.
19 seasons, 6 teams, of course, one of those teams, the Knicks. Rookie of the Year runner-up, scoring champ in 2013, 10-time All-Star, member of the NBA 75th anniversary team, and led Syracuse to the 03 NCAA championship. Congrats to Melo going to the Hall of Fame.
Well deserved, Melo.
We will see you on Saturday. Knicks are at Atlanta and then home to face Phoenix. The Boston game's a national game and then a back-to-back. Home against Detroit and then at Cleveland next week. We're back with more after this. Wrapping up the post-game show. Next up for the Knicks in Atlanta to take on the Hawks on Saturday. Note the start time, 2:30 pregame and the game at 3. You can also stream on MSG Plus, now in the Gotham Sports app. Want more than just a post-game show? Link your eligible TV subscription to stream Knicks games free or subscribe today in the Gotham Sports app. Just go to gothamsports.tv to learn more.